Okay, guys, let's get started without any further ado. I guess the others aren't available today. So again, let's take a small demo on what certified ethical hacking is, and again, a brief overview or a list of what all topics we'll be going through. Okay. Before that, a quick formal introduction on mine. My name is Mohammed Shoaib. I'm a cybersecurity trainer certified from EC Council. EC Council is one of the leading organizations for trainings and certifications in the domain of specific cybersecurity. Okay. And one of the most fundamental courses, I would say the foundational courses for getting into cybersecurity is certified ethical hacking. Okay. And the version running right now for this course is version 12. Every year the version gets updated and newest topics or latest topics or technologies are added in the course. Okay. And the older ones are redacted, obviously. Okay. So let's get started without any further ado. Now, when you talk about this course name itself, it says certified ethical hacking. Now, a lot of students have a misconception that hacking and ethical hacking are one and the same. But let's clarify that. Let's try to understand how they are different actually by defining both of them. So first things first, when you talk about hacking, this is the procedure of trying to gain access to information systems. Now, these information systems could be anything. They could be as small as a mobile phone to as big as a database or a web application server. Okay. Now, your job in hacking is to find these devices and try to gain access to these devices without the permission or without the knowledge of the organization owning those systems. And this is usually performed by hackers for their own benefit. So let's assume if I've got an access to your phone, I can now remotely steal information from your phone. I can destroy your information as well from your phone, or I can sell your information to other people on the internet, okay, for my financial benefit. And sometimes hackers are so mischievous, they can even do it just for fun. Okay. So now when you read the definition itself, you can understand that hacking is a very criminal activity. Okay, it's very illegal, definitely. Okay. So that is why we have something called ethical hacking to prevent these attacks or cyber threats. So when you talk about ethical hacking, on the other hand, this is the procedure of trying to find vulnerabilities. This term called vulnerability is something that you keep on hearing throughout the course. Okay, to define it, it's a loophole or a flaw, I would say, in the weakness or a weakness in the security of the system. So your job as an ethical hacker is to find these weaknesses or vulnerabilities in the security of these systems. Okay, and this is done very importantly with the consent and with the knowledge of the person or the organization owning those systems. Okay. And once you find the vulnerabilities, it is your responsibility to report it back to the company so that they can apply the necessary or required patches for it. And once the patches are applied, the security updates are applied, there's no more possibilities, okay, of hacking that system anymore. Okay, or again, that system facing cyber threats. So your job as an ethical hacker is to find the loopholes before the hackers do and remediate them so that you can keep the infrastructure secure and safe from hackers. Okay. Exactly. Shruti. Hi, Kareem. Can you hear me? Arun and Shruti, any questions, guys?
No, Shoaib.
Perfect. Now, depending on these two definitions of hacking and ethical hacking, guys, we can categorize the types of hackers as well. And there are three broad categories, I would say. So there's something known as a white hat hacker, a gray hat hacker, and a black hat hacker. Let's try to define each of these now. Firstly, when you talk about a black hat hacker, this is someone who performs hacking for his own benefit or just for fun without asking for consent. And these people are also commonly known as cyber criminals. On the other end of the spectrum, we have someone known as a white hat hacker. So white hat hackers are people who abide with the laws and policies of the organization. They do not cross any boundaries or so, and they work for the betterment of the organization's security infrastructure. So they try to find the loopholes and remediate them or report it back. And these people are also commonly known as ethical hackers or penetration testers. And in between, there's a third category, a mysterious category called gray hat hackers. Now, these people have both the qualities of a black hat as well as a white hat hacker. So like a black hat hacker, they don't initially ask for any permission. They don't ask for consent or permission, and they directly get into finding the loopholes or the vulnerabilities in the websites or the applications, or I would say the devices of the organization. And once a loophole is found, they now report it back like a white hat hacker. So like a black hat hacker, they don't seek permission first, but once they do find a vulnerability or a loophole, they report it back to the company. But definitely there might be a catch. Okay, the catch here is they don't do it for free. Definitely, they do it in return for a bounty. A bounty is like a reward, a financial reward that is again requested by these grey hat hackers in return for disclosing the vulnerability. So again, since they are finding bugs in return for a bounty for a financial reward, they are also commonly known as bug bounty hunters, hunting for bugs in return for a bounty. Okay, so therefore, these are people who work both offensively and defensively at various times, and thereby try to earn some bucks in return. Okay. Now, no matter what kind of a hacker you take, whether you take a black hat hacker, a gray hat hacker, or a white hat hacker, these people perform hacking or ethical hacking in a certain procedure, and that procedure is called as cyber kill chain. Some companies might also refer to it as hacking cycle, so it's one and the same thing. So whether you hear the term cyber kill chain or hacking cycle, it refers to the same thing, which is the procedure that again hackers or ethical hackers follow to understand how to perform a successful cyber threat or cyber attack, or also how to remediate them or protect the devices from these cyber threats. Okay. To read the definition out, the procedure that hackers follow in order to perform a successful cyber attack, and the knowledge of same, which allows cybersecurity professionals as well to understand, to detect, and to prevent these attacks or cyber threats, is called as cyber kill chain. Okay, so the procedure is pretty similar, no matter what kind of a hacker you are, and this procedure contains 5 important steps. Again, let me list the steps out first. So the first step in cyber kill chain is called as information gathering. Second step is called as scanning. Third phase is called as gaining access. Fourth is maintaining access. And finally, you have something called reporting or clearing traces. If you carefully observe here, only in the last phase, I've mentioned 2 different terms, reporting or clearing traces. The reason for that being, no matter what kind of a hacker you are, whether you be a white hat hacker, a gray hat hacker, or a black hat hacker, first 4 steps are exactly identical. There is no change in the first 4 steps of the procedure at all. No matter what hacker you are, first 4 steps are exactly followed in the same order. What changes or what varies is only the last step. If you are a white hat hacker or a gray hat hacker, what you do in your responsibilities, you report the vulnerabilities back to the company. You tell them what the loopholes existing are, and you tell them how to remediate them or remove those loopholes. On the other hand, if you are a black hat hacker, you won't be reporting anything, obviously. What you try to do is you try to perform your attack, you try to gain your advantage out of it, and then you try to hide your identity. You try to clear all the evidences, okay, such as deleting the log files, erasing the footprints, okay, and trying to stay as untraceable as possible so that he doesn't get caught. Okay. So again, all that matters or all that changes, I would say, for any kind of hacking is only the last phase. What you do with the vulnerability. Are you reporting it back, or are you misusing it and again taking advantage out of it? Okay. That differentiates the ethical hacker from the hacker, I would say. Okay. Now, let's talk about at least a few steps in today's class, guys. At least information gathering and scanning. And we'll talk about the other phases in the upcoming sessions as well. Okay. So the first phase, which is called as information gathering, can also be referred to as reconnaissance or footprinting. So all of these terms mean one and the same thing, which is again the process of information gathering. And the main objective of this process is to gather as much information or as much data, I would say, as possible about the target organization. Now, when you want to perform an attack, you need to research about that organization first. Okay. And in information gathering, we perform this research passively. What I mean by passively is we do not contact the organization in any way. We don't give them any hints that we're trying to get information about them. All of this data is obtained passively from the internet, from various sources on the internet. Okay. Now the main question that arises here is what kind of information are we seeking out over here, just so that we can perform hacking or ethical hacking. And that information is listed out here. So again, when you work as a hacker or an ethical hacker, first thing you require to perform an attack or to launch an attack is the target system's identity. And that is given by its IP address, Internet Protocol address. So we learn what IP addresses are, again, what are the different categories of IP addresses, and how we find the IP addresses of a target organization server. So if there's websites like Netflix, Tesla, whatnot, if they have a website, it is hosted on a web server. and that web server has an identification name to it. Okay, it is either called as a host name, that is an alphabetical name, or secondly, it has something called an IP address, a unique address given to it in a numerical format. So we try to figure out what those IP addresses are, or the range of IPs, which are also commonly called as network blocks, okay, for that organization. So what all range of IPs are being used by that organization, we get that information as well. Then we have whose records telling us who's hosting the website for them, when was their website first hosted, when was it last updated, when will their website expire. All that belongs to whose records. Then you have DNS records. Every organization has a DNS server, again containing information on their IPs and domain names. So we try to get that information as well. So we need domains and the subdomains of the organization. We need operating system information. What OS are they using? Are they using Linux servers? Are they using Microsoft servers? Okay. And then employee details. What are the contact numbers of the employees? What are the email addresses of the employees? And are there any usernames and passwords of those employees which have been leaked online in data breaches? So again, all of this information is obtained in this phase. And believe it or not, all of this information is readily available on certain websites. All you need to know is what those websites are, from where you can retrieve this data for any organization. Once all this information has been obtained, this is utilized in the next phase. So the upcoming phase is scanning, which is also commonly referred to as enumeration. And in this phase, we try to get some extra data, okay, but by active or aggressive connections. So in the earlier phase, we got the information passively. Here, whatever IPs were obtained in the earlier phases, those IP addresses or domain names are used, okay, to perform much more dangerous attacks, okay. And again, using these attacks or scanning techniques, we get some extra information. To understand what that information is, I can break down scanning in three parts. There's something called as network scanning, port scanning, and vulnerability scanning. So in network scanning, you figure out in the target organization, in their local network, what all devices exist. How many servers do they have? How many routers do they have? How many firewalls do they have? How many are they using any security devices? IDS, IPs, intrusion detection systems, intrusion prevention systems. So basically trying to understand what their network topology is, or how many devices exist in their network, and what kinds of devices are there. Once you know what devices are there, on those devices you try to figure out what ports are open and what services are running on them. Okay. So again, what applications are they using, what services are they running in their company. So trying to figure out what these various applications or services are on their systems on various ports. And once you know all that information, finally you perform vulnerability scanning to figure out if any of those services or any applications contains a loophole to attack on. Okay. So during this phase, we're using two very important tools. One is called Nmap, which is basically a network mapper, network and a port scanner. And there's one more tool called Tenable Nessus. Okay. So these two tools are very important in the cybersecurity domain. No matter what job role you apply for, these two tools will always be mentioned in the JD job description. So we'll be practically working on these tools, understanding how to utilize them to perform scanning and get that extra pieces of information. Now, if it is still unclear to you, the main difference between information gathering and scanning, let me explain this with an example. Okay. So, okay, let's take an example of a robbery. Let's say if I want to rob a bank. So the first thing I do as a robber or as a bank robber, at least I would see to it that I get information about the bank externally. Okay. So I try to figure out what all pieces of information I can get from outside the bank discreetly. How many security cameras are installed outside the bank? How many security guards are placed outside the bank? On what day of the week does the money van come in? Okay. How much long does the money van stay at the bank? Okay. Are they taking out money or are they again loading the van with money? Okay. And again, are there, how many entrances are there for the bank? Okay. What entrances are closed? What entrances are open during the night? Okay. How many security guards are placed outside the bank at the night? So all of this information is me trying to get all this data discreetly without anyone noticing me. I can get this information just by observation, externally or passively. But not all information is available here. In order for me to perform the bank robbery, I need to know their internal infrastructure as well. So for that, I need to make an aggressive connection, a direct connection. That is me entering the bank at least once to understand their internal infrastructure. So how many floors are there inside the bank? Do we have another extra floor underground in the basement? Where is the vault located and what floor is the vault located? How many security cameras are there inside the bank? Do they have any extra additional security measures, metal detectors, scanners, etc.? Okay. How many employees are there inside the bank? How many security guards are placed inside the bank? How many guns are they carrying inside the bank? So all of this information can only be obtained once I enter the bank. So that is you making an active or an aggressive connection. So again, first phase, getting information externally or silently without anyone noticing is information gathering. That other extra piece of information that you obtain by entering the bank is scanned. And once all this information has been gathered, next phase is nothing but gaining access or robbing the bank. Okay, this is the phase where the real hacking occurs. So attackers or ethical hackers use the vulnerabilities or the loopholes found in the earlier phases of reconnaissance and scanning, and then they try to utilize that to perform gaining access of the system or the application or the entire network. Okay, so again, this is what the next phase of hacking is. Okay, and this contains a lot of topics here. So again, we'll discuss these topics, guys, in the next session. So in tomorrow's class, we'll continue this demo from exactly here, where I'll explain what these gaining access modules are and what topics are again what does this topic, each of these topics indicate, or what does it show you, or what you learn. Okay. So again, there's gaining access left out, there's maintaining access, and then there's reporting. 3 phases left out. We'll talk about those in the upcoming sessions. In the meanwhile, if you have any questions on your end up to this point, you can let me know, guys. Arun, Kareem, Shruti.
As of now, no queries, Shoaib.
Oh, okay, perfect, guys. No problem. So yeah, that's that, guys. Nothing further for our session today. In tomorrow's class, I'm going to explain each of these modules one by one. I'll show a small practical as well, just as a part of a demo. Okay. And yeah, that should give you a brief idea on what the complete contents of the course are. Okay. But other than that, basic information about the course, we have classes from Monday to Friday every day for 1 hour each, 7 to 8 p.m. And again, out of that 1 hour, first 15 to 20 minutes, we talk about the theoretical aspect of that topic that day, and the remaining 35 to 40 minutes, we cover the practical part of it. Since these are just demos, I'm sticking to theory, guys, here. But once we get started in the session, we cover everything from the basics, from the scratch, practically. Okay. So again, no other prerequisites required. Whatever is required is included in the course itself. So we learn about networking, we learn about Linux commands, we learn about how to set up a practical lab setup. Okay. And after these topics are done, then we dive into these other advanced concepts from the course. Okay. So the course is for a duration of 35 days around approximately, where we have classes from Monday to Friday every day for 1 hour each. Okay. And this week we'll be having demos, guys. Frankly speaking, we'll be gathering or accumulating students to form a batch. And then from Monday onwards, next Monday onwards, we'll have the proper batch running. Okay. So this whole week we'll be having demos and explain again various concepts in cybersecurity as demo classes. So please do join the session tomorrow as well. We'll cover the remaining pieces of the demo in the next session. Okay. Sure. So yeah, that's that, guys. Nothing further. Let's exit the session here and let's connect back tomorrow at the same time. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you, Shoaib.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.